All right. So I'm hoping that my community moment today can bring a little bit of necessary brevity, but also some serious things about facts and science. So the place that you go when you want facts and science is obviously to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. So Guy and I went to the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter back in August. And so I'm just going to tell you all about it, because it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. So that's a picture of us outside of the Ark. And it's really huge. And I also wanted to make a point to say that I'm really excited about this headset that I'm wearing because I feel like Britney Spears, and that's really important to me. So I'm just super stoked. Okay, so one of the Oasis values is that reality is known through reason. And there is not a whole lot of reason happening in Kentucky. So let me tell you what that means. In Kentucky, the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter are both sponsored by a guy named Ken Ham. He's a young earth creationist who started this organization called Answers in Genesis. And young earth creationists are a very specific kind of Christian who believe a few interesting things. They believe in a very literal interpretation of the Bible, specifically the book of Genesis, which holds the creation story about how everything came to be. They believe that earth was created in very literal 6 24-hour periods, about 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, depending on whatever they think, I don't know. And this is relevant because in 2011, a Gallup poll found that actually 30% of US adults interpret the Bible literally, or say they do. And a 2014 poll found that 42% of US adults believe that God created humans in their current form within the past 10,000 years, and that 32% of adults believe that humans underwent evolution with God guiding. However, I would like to add a caveat here. The majority of Christians don't necessarily hold this view. When I was a Christian, I certainly did not. But as you'll see here in this presentation, enough of them do that there's a lot of money going into continuing to spread the young earth creationism model. So relevant because depending on our next administration, the Department of Education will either be obliterated or Ben Carson will be leading it, who has kind of toyed around with the idea of creationism. And we don't really know if that's necessarily his belief, but it matters here, folks. This is important stuff that we are teaching our kids what's real. So just in case you aren't super familiar, none of what the young earth creationism model holds is actually true. We do know some other things through science, like that the earth is 4.5 billion years old, not 6,000. There's a pretty big difference. And that life first appeared on earth 3.5 billion years ago. So we've been at this for a while. This is like the little life model. I don't understand what it means, but it's a lot more complicated than 6,000 to 8,000 years. Evolution is a process by which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms. Blah, blah, blah. We have Charles Darwin, who taught us about natural selection and all of those great things that science holds for us. So we went to the Creation Museum, and that's what I'm going to talk about first. This is a real mannequin set that they have there, and then that's Guy. There's a lot of Guy in this presentation. It was kind of my prop for all of these pictures, and I added my own caption. So the first thing that's really important to understand about how the Creation Museum is actually really well done as far as museums go, besides the whole fact part. Like production value is high. And the thing that's really fascinating about it is that they fully acknowledge that there are two worldviews here. They have the scientific worldview, which they call man's word, and then they have God's word. So they're acknowledging throughout the museum the different perspectives, and they have plenty of displays just like this that say how man believes man believes the earth was created and how God created everything. And it's all very different. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but they have it on very wide display, what they believe versus what the world believes, which is just, yeah. So there's been a lot of talk about the dinosaurs at the Creation Museum, and they're very real. They very much hold that humans and dinosaurs both lived on the earth at the same time. So they have, like, that's a cave person and a dinosaur, and that's us with a dinosaur. And they think that basically because everything was created in these 6-day periods, that includes humans and dinosaurs, and they were all there at the same time. And then this is like look at her face. You can't really see it right in here, but she's creeped out, and I am too. So the way that the dinosaurs are explained in the Creation Museum, Obviously, we have man's word, which is science, that they went extinct basically I really actually don't know, but the Big Bang, a long time ago, things happened. Okay, not the Big Bang, that's like a meteor or something, right? I don't know, not the point. But they're holding that the global flood, Noah's Ark, right, washed all the dinosaurs away, and that's why they're not here anymore. So the reason that the global flood happened is because of sin, obviously, and this is a very sinful man posing with the Bible verse talking about all of that. He's sitting in the back, so just watch out for him. So then after you go through, they talk about the dinosaurs. That's like the first thing, and I'm not sure why. I guess it's just because people are into dinosaurs. But then you go through this door, and it says, the world is not safe anymore, and it's like carved in, and you go in and it's like dark lights and they're red, and then they have these like little videos about this girl who gets pregnant and then she's having an abortion, and then this other video about porn, and then it's all just very, and then they have this like sign with like gay teens, like that's all it says, like that's it, like that's the evil, like they exist. So, and they take this sin thing like super far, so like this is very real. In the bathroom, they were out of feminine napkins, and the sign says, temporarily out of order, we live in a fallen world. So like, it's all because of the sin, including the lack of tampons. So sin plays like a huge part in this, and I'm not gonna read all of it, but some really strange examples. Nobody used to eat meat before sin. Weeds in the ground, they did not exist at all before sin. That only happened because of sin. So weeds that like, literally weeds, that's all a sin problem. So the obvious answer is just to kill everyone and send this flood. And you can see this is like a diorama they have. They're teeny tiny, but you can see all these people like dying on the rocks, and then there's the ark in the background. So a little bit morbid. So then there are answers for how the animals got to where they are. So like the kangaroo, for example. Kangaroos only really live in Australia in the wild. And their response to this, and how that happens when the flood is in the Middle East basically, is rafting. So after the flood, there are trees that like get destroyed, and then the animals hop on the trees and like float to Australia, and that's why we have animals in Australia that aren't anywhere else. I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to make fun of them. This is just like very seriously what they think here. So then we went to the Ark. The Ark that is made in Kentucky, it's in Williamstown, Kentucky, I believe, and it's on 70 acres, and it's life-size according to the biblical measurements here, which I'm not going to read because I don't understand. And you can see Guy here, like, for size, like, it's ginormous. And the majority of it, here. There's that door there where all the animals walked in 2 by 2, and that's us for scale as to how big that door is. It was huge. The first thing I noticed when we walked on, I'm so sorry, I'm just gonna walk away. They had gendered porta potties. I don't know why, but that's a thing. So, thank you, somebody's laughing because it's ridiculous. So the fascinating thing about the inside of the Ark is that it's huge and there's a lot of empty space. The Ark was not nearly as well done as the Creation Museum. There's just a lot of empty space in there, which is kind of disappointing because there's, like 61.5 taxpayer dollars going into this thing, but none of my business. So this is a very important sign. If I can convince you the flood was not real, then I can convince you that heaven and hell are not real. So I'm just going to let you sit in that for a little bit. So they have this diorama of the 3 levels that they have, and when you walk into the Ark, you see on the first level, it's all like the food storage and stuff. The second level is all the cages for the animals. And the animals that they had on display there were very strange. They had dinosaurs in wooden cages because that's what dinosaurs live in for whatever. And very strange animals. I don't really know what these are supposed to be. It wasn't really labeled. But whatever. So they had, I'm trying to wrap it up here, I'm not going to get into all the details, but they went through a very explicit logistical explanation of how they cleaned out the poop for all the animals, how they fed all the animals, how they kept ventilation and lighting, like they went through all of these answers. They also acknowledged that there are other flood myths. They didn't really acknowledge why those are wrong and theirs is right, but they did acknowledge that they exist. One of my favorite parts of it was they went into the living quarters section, and none of this is actually in the Bible. This is all just pure speculation based on Ken Ham's thoughts. So this is a woman cooking, because of course, on the Ark, and that's one of his sons, just like laying back. And on the front, they had a plaque that said, Noah's wife, Keziah, which isn't in the Bible, they made up a name for her, loved to do interior decorating. Yeah. So anyways, on our way home, we watched again the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate from February of 2014. Fascinating stuff on YouTube if you haven't seen it. And one of the things Ken Ham says is that if a scientific fact contradicts the Bible, I'd have to throw it out. And the reason he says that is because they have their own method of creation of historical science. The scientific method holds, you have a question and you test hypotheses to find out if it's a valid theory, or you throw it out. However, Ken Ham's historical science, that's what he calls science, is he starts with the Bible. And if it doesn't fit in with the Bible, then it doesn't count as science. That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, so I just like to really emphasize again that reality is known through reason here. And that's why it's really important that we teach our kids what we do know, what we can know with facts and with science. And that's all I got.